What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another video. And today is the third episode of the Weekly Bodybuilding Breakdown with Michael Galley, where we discuss everything bodybuilding that's gone down in the week of bodybuilding. And this week we have a heap of stories, including a potential new pumping iron produced by Arnold Schwarzenegger and potentially starring Sergio Oliva Jr. We've got Sergio Oliva Jr. versus Patrick Moore. I had two interviews this week go on the channel, and these guys go at each other pretty hard. The Jay Cutler interview, we discussed that. Quinton Araya looking crazy at 25 years old, still prepping, and a Miss Olympia contender coming back to Miss Olympia this year. All that and more come up in this episode, guys. I hope you enjoy it. What's up, Desktopers? Welcome back to Desktop Bodybuilding, and I'm here with Michael Galley for the Weekly Bodybuilding Breakdown, episode number 3. And Mick, we have decided on a name. And mate, you just had your birthday yesterday. So how was your birthday, and what do you think of the name?
I love the name. I love it. It was thanks to Lee for coming up with that name, and we're just getting our tongue around it now. We've been mucking that up a bit pre-episode. I had a good birthday. I kind of celebrated too, actually, because the 9th back in Australia, I had everyone wishing me happy birthday, and then obviously the US is, a day behind, and then had it kind of again, I guess. So no, it was good. It was a bit weird being by yourself, self-isolating. I don't really know anyone here in Dallas. Not that I could have done anything anyway, but it was all right.
Did you pull out the party whistles, just hang around the house?
Yeah, put my hat on, sat at my desk, and yeah, it was great. Awesome. So yeah. No, thank you very much. Thanks for the message. I appreciate it too.
No worries at all. I saw it come up on mine, and I was like, it's Michael Galley's birthday. And I'm like, well, actually, I don't think it is where he is right now, but I'm like, I'll send you a message anyway and say happy birthday. So, yeah, so only 28 years old, doing well.
Yeah, 20, I wish. No, 46. Time's gone fast, mate.
Young Absolutely. For your age, man.
Hey, I'll tell you something funny while I've got it on, because I found my old Powerhouse gym shirt, which used to be like, it was mega popular in America. And I was just talking to my cousin earlier. My cousin lives in LA, and he has done for the last 30 years. And you won't remember this, Xavier, but back then, say, let's talk middle of the 90s. So all the guys listening that were around then, in Main Street, which is just a block away from Gold's Gym, you had Powerhouse Gym as well. And then you had World Gym just down from it again. And then you had all these shops there, Muscle Mag International, Perfetto, Crazy Wear, T. Michael. It was unbelievable. We were only just talking about it. And I said, there was 3 major gyms within a couple of blocks of each other in the 90s. It was absolutely crazy. So, yeah, times have definitely changed. Time's gone fast too.
Yeah, and a Powerhouse Gym, is there many actually in America right now? Because I remember they used to be pretty huge, and I remember actually seeing a really cool one that someone in Tampa, Florida, I think, was training in a really cool Powerhouse Gym. And I was like, I wish I had gyms like that in Australia. Is there many around now?
To be honest with you, I'm not too sure. I can't off the top of my head think. Bev Francis's gym in.
Oh, that's Powerhouse, yeah.
New York. That's a Powerhouse, yeah. But I do remember in the 90s though there was heaps. There was quite a few. There was a few in Australia as well. A few people over there had bought into the franchise. I don't think they went that well with it, but no, I just remember the one on Main Street was awesome. I loved it. So
yeah, for sure. Now I want to just give a shout out to Lee Carmichael as well for coming up with the show named the Weekly Bodybuilding Breakdown. I really like it. I love the BB combination, because we was talking about the bodybuilding beef. We was talking about, well, I think I deleted actually all the other ones that I had written down. But there's actually quite a few good names actually put out there as well. So thanks for everyone for putting out those names in the comments and stuff. It's really appreciated. So when I do get those shirts made up for the Desktop Bodybuilding YouTube channel, then I'm going to send him out one as well free of charge for coming up with that name. So thank you very much, Lee Carmichael. But let's move on to our first topic today, and a potential new pumping iron with Sergio Oliva Jr. produced by Arnold Schwarzenegger by the sounds of it, because Sergio basically said in our interview, and this is my fault, I should have dug more into this, because he basically said, he's talking about doing something with Arnold and maybe doing a new pumping iron. So I assume that means sort of like that Arnold would be the producer, maybe putting money into it, or maybe he'd be acting in it, not too sure, but I'm pretty sure it would be sort of he's a producer setting this sort of thing up. Now, what do you think of this idea? Because we saw that obviously Generation Iron tried to do this, and they said that was the new pumping iron when it came out. And I think you went to the movies to actually see it after. I don't know why I remember this so clearly, but you actually were on a flight to LA and you was going to the Olympia, and it looked like you guys basically almost died on the plane because it dropped out of the air or something like that. And I remember the day after, I think it was you, Scott Goebel, Jimmy. I don't know how I remember this so well. It's just the fact that I remember seeing the photo that Jimmy put up. I think it was Jimmy on Instagram or Facebook of the plane, and there was just stuff everywhere, and I'm like, wow, what happened? Are these guys alive or what? Like, it was crazy.
Dude, that's a good story, actually. So we were on the way to the Olympia via Brisbane to LA to start with. I think it was 2013. And I just remember, without any warning whatsoever, the plane just dropped, just absolutely dropped. And, luckily no one was seriously injured, but they were just serving food at the same time, and the hostess went flying in the air. So when you saw that photo, once everything had calmed down, we were right at not at the front, but where you sit, and you've got heaps of leg room, and that's where the hostesses sit as well, or stewardesses can sit down if there's turbulence. Yeah, so there was turbulence for the next hour, and I remember looking at the stewardess, and she looked really worried. And I said, just like how bad was that? And she goes, I've never experienced anything like that or what we're going through now. And I looked at Jimmy. So I said, sorry, Jimmy was on my right. So he turned around with his phone and took a photo. So that's the photo you saw. And there was stuff. You can imagine a plane just dropping. So everyone's eating at the same time. There was food and stuff everywhere, mate. So for the next hour, I won't lie to you, I was a little bit, I thought, fuck, we're not going to see the Olympia. But yeah, so we landed. We were in LA for a couple of days, and that's when we saw Generation Iron with Scott Goebel and Jimmy Sadek and my cousin. Yeah, and all I remember in that was Scott Goebel was to my right, fell asleep, and was snoring his head off.
Yeah, that sounds about right. He's a dad now, so he can sort of get away with it, although he wasn't a dad at the time, but it is what it is. But yeah, it was, I don't know, like the first Generation Iron, I went to the movies to actually see it because it did come out at the movies in some selected locations. And I actually quite liked it because I liked, seeing it on big screen and seeing all the really HD cool footage, you know what I mean, up close. So I really appreciated seeing that because you didn't see that much from many bodybuilding, especially videos going up online at that time, because they were generally lower quality. You'd have to buy the DVDs to get some high quality stuff, but this was sort of on another level. So I really liked that. I liked it for that aspect of it, just seeing these physiques move with the HD footage and stuff. But the stories were a bit fabricated and stuff like that. And I think for hardcore bodybuilding fans, that sort of turned people off a little bit. Although I think Kai Green got a huge amount of support out of that and just really helped his career. And Phil Heath had almost did the opposite. And that's why at the Olympia after that, people were all about Kai Green and Phil Heath was almost getting booed. So I don't think Phil liked the way that sort of came out in the end, because it was more like a docudrama, not so much I suppose, an exact representation of how things work. So they took Kai Green back to where he used to live and act like that's where he's living right now, like he had no money or something, even though he's, top two in the Olympia, which isn't really, wasn't how things were. But it still was sort of cool, but it wasn't exactly what people want to see, because people know what's going on in these guys' lives now. You can't just put out a story and be like, that's how it is, because people see what happens on Instagram. So I think that if they do this pumping iron again, this sort of idea again, I think it needs to be more real. It needs to be much more raw. If guys have money, show they have money. If they don't, they don't, So I'd like to see that. And I suppose let's talk about some of the names we'd actually like to see in it. So Mick, if you had to choose like a bit of a cast of the current bodybuilders or even previous bodybuilders, if you want to include them, who would you put in this new pumping iron film?
Well, I think as far as Arnold goes, and I don't know, a lot of people might not like this one either, but I still think Callum, a beefed up Callum, if we got him back up to how he was a couple of years ago, because he just looks, he's got the jawline, he's got the personality a little bit as well. He's a bit of a larrikin, Callum. I quite like him, and I think he could fit into that role. He's already played Arnold in, what was it?
Bigger.
That's it, Bigger. So he's already played Arnold. He popped a little bit of flack, but I thought he was okay in it from what I saw, little clips. So he'd still be my pick. The only other one, and we spoke about this, was maybe that Roland Killinger, who's also played Arnold in a series. So he'd only be the other one I would think of, but he's long retired. But yeah, Callum would be my pick for Arnold. What about you?
I think when I sent this through to you, you got an idea that they're going to remake Pumping Iron with new guys. I think what Sergio was more talking about is they're going to do a Pumping Iron style film, but based in today's era, if that makes sense. So it's going to be more like a way Generation Iron did it, but it's going to be sort of like the Pumping Iron sort of theme. So if I was doing it and I had like a totally new cast and all different people, I would do Sergio, definitely. I wouldn't do Callum because he's not contending with these guys. He's more, he's in his own thing doing classic physique. And I think if you were to put him in it, I think that it would make it more like how they did some of the other Generation Irons afterwards, where it was just, showing back Callum's life and talked about social media and all that sort of stuff. But I would like to see, like, if you could get these stories. We don't know what's happening with Phil Heath. We don't know what's happening with Hardy Chupin. We don't know what's happening with Kai Green. We don't know what's happening with Sean Roden. There's a whole bunch of stories there. So even if they did something where they actually went and talked to all these guys and showed what they're doing now, and maybe if some of them are leading into comps, I think that would sort of be cool, because there's so much mystery behind each of these guys that would be cool in itself. But if we could get Phil Heath coming back, have Sergio on there. We know Sergio doesn't mind talking at all, so that would be great. Even Patrick Moore, because they're rivals. Patrick Moore versus Sergio, which that would be sort of a cool little rivalry coming into the comp. And then just pretty much all the other top guys. William Bonac, we know he can talk as well. He's come out and talked and said stuff, and he's quite a personality. You've got guys like Hardy. Hardy would be sort of interesting, although you'd need the interpreter. Brandon Curry, obviously, being the current Mr Olympia and trying to defend his title, something like that would be really cool as well. So you've got a whole bunch of options, I think. But the guys like Hardy and Big Ramy that don't speak perfect English, it might make it a little bit harder, I think, to have like a running proper storyline with those guys and featuring them and having them talk on camera. But if you have all these other guys, I think it would actually be really cool, like at least the top 4 to 5 guys in the Olympia, and then a few other guys like your Sergios and Patrick Moores, even if they're not making sort of top 5 Olympia sort of placings.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head there with the guys you suggested. I'd love to see something about Sean and how he's coped with the last 6-7 months, especially, and what's happening now. Still uncertainty for him. He doesn't even know when the case is going to go ahead. So that would be great to see. It would be great to see Brandon, how he's going about defending his title and how he thinks about who else may be coming into it now. And especially Phil. We just don't know what's going on with Phil. He looks amazing. He's really kept his size and thickness on, so he's definitely in striking distance of competing. So I think it'd be a good story to cover as well.
Absolutely. And the whole thing with Sean Roden too, it would be so interesting if they could do a documentary, even just on him, about what he's going through mentally when this case came up, when it went up in the media, and him talking about what he actually went through. Because when that dropped in the media, that was huge. I mean, it was on TMZ, it was everywhere. I mean, imagine being him, sort of knowing this sort of stuff's going to come out and not knowing how big it's going to be, and then seeing that what actually did happen. I mean, I imagine that would just be like, man, my anxiety would go through the roof. I'd struggle to deal with that, honestly.
Do you know what was great about that? Is he kept training, and he trained with Stanimal, because Stanimal was going to do the classic Olympia. And when we went over, obviously I went to the Olympia last year as well. One of my friends, Logan Robertson, we were there together, and we trained at I can't remember the name of the gym. It was in Vegas, and a lot of the pros were in there. Sean and Stanimal were in there training, and I've known Sean reasonably well. Like, we can sit down and have a chat together. He looked amazing. It was only a couple of days before the Olympia, so that shows you how strong mentally he is as well. He stuck to a pretty solid diet. He was training very hard with Stanimal as well, so that says a lot about his mental toughness, because imagine every single day you'd be getting asked questions non-stop. Yeah. Every day at the Gold's Gym, people would be going, I know you got a lot of support in Gold's, I really do, but people are going to be asking questions. How are you coping with it? How are you dealing with it? So, man, my hat's off to him. And like I said, and we spoke about this on a couple of episodes, I hope he beats this. I really do. But he showed a level of mental toughness that I think very few will be able to cope with.
Yeah, and like being him, when you first go back into the gym everyone's going to be staring at you. Everyone's going to, it's going to be the elephant in the room almost, and you're not going to come out and be like, hey guys, explain yourself. So you just know you're going to be stared at, everyone's going to be talking about you. It's just, that would be tough. I would find that very, very tough. So he obviously shows a huge amount of mental strength. But let's move on. Let's talk about Sergio Oliva versus Patrick Moore. I had an interview that went up with Sergio Oliva. That went up. He said some stuff in the interview and I was like, ooh, how's that going to go down? He said that Patrick Moore's wife left him and said basically they were sort of best friends, and that, then Patrick Moore sort of, after Sergio said in an interview with RX Muscle, said that, had these other guys competed, he would have been last place like I was. So sort of suggested a few things there. Patrick Moore hit back. He went on an interview with RX Muscle, also Muscular Development, and sort of hit back and said a few different things there. And then Sergio came on my channel, and this was in the past week, and he basically went on to say, these sorts of things in the interview. And I reached out to Patrick and said, hey, just a heads up, this video is coming out. I would like to give you the chance to have a right of reply, because I think that's only fair. If I'm having Sergio on and he says that sort of stuff, I feel like he deserves a right of reply. So I gave him that right of reply, and he came out and said he said a lot of stuff, including that it's all lies, which is huge. I don't want to totally wreck the whole video, but what's your thoughts on this, man? Because, I'm not asking you to say who you think's right or who you think's wrong, but, do you reckon this just dies down after this, we don't hear anything else? Because, honestly, I would have both these guys on to not have a debate, but to talk this out on the channel live. I think that would be awesome, and hopefully these guys can come to some sort of resolution, because I don't want to be just about... I'm not trying to cause beef over here between these two guys. I'm trying to actually, give Patrick the right reply, and it seems like almost I'm trying to cause drama to get hits or whatever, which is not my main goal. Obviously, if it's going to go down, then I want it to go down on my channel rather than someone else's. But, what's your thoughts on the whole situation, and do you think anything's salvageable in terms of a friendship here?
I don't know, man. It's a tough... Well, I don't know either of them personally. I have hung around Sergio for a few hours. The people who might know, there's an Australian photographer who's one of the best in the world, Charles Lothian. So I helped Charles out most years at the Olympia, just shooting the pros. And we did Sergio a couple of years ago. And on the surface, he seemed like a pretty cool guy. No issues at all. So does Pat, just from seeing him on social media and stuff like that as well. But yeah, it's one of those things, like, someone's obviously not telling the truth. So, I don't know. It was pretty confronting, though, to see Sergio just say that out of the blue, basically. And obviously Pat would have been pretty offended by that, considering he still is with his wife, and she was at the Arnold Classic, things like that as well. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't sound like the friendship's going to be salvaged. It doesn't sound like there was much of a friendship to begin with.
Yeah, really. From Patrick's side at least, anyway, because it's going to be an interesting one.
I don't know. If they did come on and chat, who knows? It could go either way. It could be one of those things where they just are actually pretty nice and accommodating to each other, or it just could be an all-out war of words. But yeah, it's interesting. And let me just say too, Xavier, and I'm sure all the listeners will agree, both those interviews were brilliant that you did. They really were. I enjoyed both of them. I thought Patrick's was awesome too. It was just just those things, I guess, that came up, and I can see Pat's side. If it's not true, Pat had to have his say. There's no way, if that was me, I couldn't sit down and just let that be said. I'd have to have my say.
Yeah, for sure. And I've said as well, like I said to Sergio as well, I said, hey, letting you know, like, I just want to give these guys a heads up so they're not just shocked by something that I put up. And both guys really respected it. Both guys were very nice to me as well. So, and I understand why one of them might be like, oh, damn, you put that up. But I put the Sergio one up, so Patrick deserved his right of reply. And, if they want to come on the channel and discuss things a bit more, or they want to give me a statement or whatever, happy to read that out as well for those guys too. And another interview I had go up was the Jay Cutler interview, and that went down just after I think we recorded last time, maybe a day or two afterwards, and that was something that I've been sort of hustling for a while. And same with the Sergio interview as well. Like, I'd messaged Sergio a lot leading up to it. They both actually said that in their interviews. Jay's like, he's like, yeah, for your viewers, like Xavier's like, said something about like you're constantly, onto me or whatever, because I was messaging him. I got to the stage where I'm like, I'm just going to message him daily, just like, literally like, because he would reply to a few of my things before, but I'm like, no, I'm just going to annoy him and send him things in different ways to try to catch his attention pretty much. And I think that he respected that and was like, okay, I'm going to get on with this guy and do an interview. So I sent him videos of me saying, hey, what's up, Jay, blah, 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 blah. Would you like to do an interview, even if it's 10 minutes? All good. And I'd send him a voice message. what's up, Jay? Seeing how you doing, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd send him a text and then say that. And then he was just like, yeah, sweet, let's do it. So that was obviously a career highlight for me, man. It was one of the things that I've even mentioned to Tara. I said, I wanted to do an interview this year. I said at the start of this year, I want to do an interview this year with Jay Cutler. That was like my goal. And an eventual goal is to, like I've actually thought about this for the last few days and what might come from this channel as well. Not to get too off topic from a Jay Cutler interview, is like, you hear of, do you know Gary Vee?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I think you'd really like his stuff. He's sort of like, not a quote-unquote motivational speaker, but he has a lot of, I suppose, techniques for making money online, and he's a motivational sort of a guy. You would really like him, I reckon. But his goal is to own the New York Jets, the NFL team, and he's got a huge amount of money. He's a sports manager and all that sort of stuff. And he's like, look, I might not reach it till I'm 30, another 30 years. And he's like, when I reach the goal, he's like, then I'll actually be sad because I've sort of reached that goal. And that's what I've been working for towards my whole life. And he's all about the journey and getting there. So my actual goal in my head now is to some way or another get on the Olympia stage, whether it's like one day, even if it's 30, 40, 50 years away, being an MC or announcing something or even competing if I can get to that sort of level in men's physique. So that's like sort of my long-term goal. Is to get there. So I've sort of put that in the back of my head now and trying to work towards those long-term goals. Then also have the short-term goals like interviewing Jay, trying to win my pro card and all those different ways to get to that sort of level. What do you think about sort of the way I'm going mentally about that sort of stuff?
I think you're on the right track, definitely. Absolutely. You're definitely doing all the right things at the moment too. I like it. The interview and the content that you're putting out has been brilliant. So I think it's getting... and you see the comments that are going under each one you put up with Jay and with Patrick and with Sergio. So many people are just saying this is the channel now to watch because it is. You're putting out brilliant interviews. And I mean, most of us that are in this industry, in the sport, we want to see that. I want to see what the guys are doing and see their background. You're asking questions too that haven't been asked before as well, which I'm enjoying, really enjoying. So
and that's the one thing I wanted to do with Jay, because he's someone who's interviewed a lot. And he said I don't do a lot of his interviews because they sort of get a bit monotonous after a while, because he'll do 1 to 2 hour interviews and talk about the same thing on each interview. And I was like, no, I need to throw different stuff at him. I want to find out more about him. And he opened up about having kids, how him and his partner, his ex-partner had a miscarriage, which is, could have changed Jay's life dramatically, because the next year he actually won the Olympia. And had he had a child in 2005, would he have won the Olympia in 2006? Because, for people that have kids, they know, they were in your bed sometimes. They're waking you up at all hours of the night. It's tough, So that might have changed things totally for Jay. He talked about in depth about his training, because we see Jay train. He does these longer workouts than other people, but I wanted to know how intense are you going on these different sets. And he said he doesn't take every exercise to failure, and he goes into his training and stuff. And he even asked me questions, man. He asked me about my first interview, my first big interview I recorded, and I mentioned how I was shaking. I was interviewing Milos Sarcev. I was in my bedroom on my laptop, sitting on the ground because I didn't want my laptop to overheat. And so my laptop was sitting on the hard ground, because we had like a sealed cement sort of ground. I was sitting on the ground, had my headphones on, had my little microphone that was attached to them, and I was literally shaking, man. I don't know how old I was. Maybe I was 17 or something like that, and I was just sitting there shaking like that, trying not to let it come through my voice. So it was so cool how he did all that. So if people want to watch that interview, I'll put the links in the description as well. And also I want to mention we've got an interview coming out with John De La Rosa as well. Just recorded that yesterday. That's going to go up probably in about 3 to 4 days, because I have honestly so much content going up. I've got a list here of videos, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different videos that I've got going up very soon as well. And I'm just going to sort of put that somewhere in between those ones. So aiming to put up at least 2 videos a day at the moment now. So let's talk about a few other things and a few bodybuilding related topics. Now, 25-year-old Quinton Araya is looking crazy. Now, he put these photos up just the other day, training at his home gym. He also lives with Antoine Valiant, and I also think he lives with Frank McGrath as well, and they live up there in Canada, and they've got their own home gym. Looks like they've got a pretty impressive dumbbell rack as well that goes up to some pretty high weights. But what do you think of this dude, Mick? Because he's about 6 foot tall. I know he started his prep at about 310 pounds from memory, maybe 315, and now he's down around 280 or just above 280, I think. So what do you think about this dude's physique, and what damage do you think he can do this year if he is able to get on stage?
Man, he looked good. You tagged me in a picture earlier today, and as soon as I jumped on and had a look, straight away it reminded me of a smaller version of Lionel Benecki. I think
Yep.
that's how you pronounce it. Very
Blakey.
good, nice shape. Yeah, good size. If he comes in good condition, man, he's going to look good on stage. He's going to just really stand out from his structure and his shape alone. That and the fact that he's in a very good crew with Antoine and Frank. You can't. That's pretty cool to be around. So those guys will be teaching him. I don't know who's coaching him. Is Dorian coaching him?
Yeah, Dorian Hamilton.
He's looking after. Okay, so he's got a very good coach as well. I followed Dorian for a while, and I like what he does. Obviously, he's looking after Regan Grimes as well at the moment. So Dorian's got some good athletes under him. But so Quinton's in a very good environment, great physique, and like you said, that home gym actually looks pretty damn good. I could definitely handle training there. I'm excited. What show had he picked out as it stands now?
Well, the first show he's doing has been cancelled. That was the Arnold Classic South America. That was going to be show number 1. And then I think he's probably going to do the gamut and run through maybe like the New York Pro and a few other shows. So at the moment, I think I've talked to him a bit about what's going on and stuff like that. And it sounds like just things are a bit up in the air. He's still sort of prepping. I don't know if he's eased off a bit now and is just sort of trying to maintain condition at the moment and then, push it hard at the end. Not too sure right now. But he's such an impressive bodybuilder. He's an impressive dude as well. He's very, very friendly, very nice. I talk to him quite regularly. He's a funny dude, man. Like if you watch his stories, he is funny. He has he's going on about toilet paper all the time, but the way he was doing it was funny. He's like, man, give me some fucking toilet paper. Like just the way he says stuff and I don't know. He's just a funny dude. So I really enjoy following him, and I think he'd be funny. Like him being right at the top of the sport, I think people would get to know his personality even more because he's going to be in more interviews and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, he's a super good dude. But let's move on.
We definitely beat that sport. Sorry.
For people that don't know, we've got a 2-3 second delay right now, so we're trying to let each other speak and then wait, but it's actually really hard. But let's move on. Also, actually, I want to mention Raphael Brando. He looks insane at the moment as well. And he's another young gun he's 26, I think. So he's maybe a year older than Quinton, but also looking absolutely insane. So I think these two guys are two guys of the future. And honestly, I can't see either of these guys not placing top 5 in the Olympia one day. That's honestly my opinion because Quinton, he placed top 5 in pro shows last year at 24 years old. And then you've got Raphael, who just looked sensational last year at the Arnold Classic, and he looks a lot bigger now. So I can't see how these guys can't be top 5 in the Olympia at some stage, probably within the next few years.
Yeah, Raphael's been a favourite of mine for a while, and the size he's put on since last year was crazy as he was dialing in for the Arnolds. But he kept that. He's got that beautiful shape that you're just blessed with. And they popped a photo up because obviously he does training with Flex Lewis and a couple others. But he had a training just sitting on a picture, and he looked so good. He was so full, and his quads were massive. Another one. Let's just quickly touch on this as well. Is Hunter Liberator, who's looking.
Yeah.
He was getting ready for the New York Pro. The New York Pro has been put back to August, so I guess he'll just. August 9th, okay. So he'll readjust his schedule for that too. But man, he's got a good physique. You got to remember, he's quite a bit taller than what his dad is as well. So Hunter is definitely packing a lot more size on, and he put up some photos recently on his Instagram, just a comparison photos of now till last year when he was prepping, and it's nuts. So yeah he's very good.
That's the future there. And those 3 guys, I'm not sure about Raphael. I don't know if you know how tall he is, but these other 2 guys are really tall and by themselves in pictures don't look as impressive as some of these shorter guys. So when these guys actually stand on stage, get in a comparison, you go, wow, these guys are actually really big because people were saying last year about Quinton, they're going, oh, he's going to do classic physique. And then, he just couldn't make classic physique, placed top 5 in the Toronto Pro, which you got to remember that Toronto Pro, the guys ahead of him were really good. Josh Wade, John De La Rosa, Ian Valier, and there was someone else as well, or maybe he placed 4th. I can't quite remember, but he only had quality dudes ahead of him, and he actually beat out some really good names. He beat out even a Samson Dowder, who placed 2nd to Nathan Diasha at the British Grand Prix, and there was not bad guys in that lineup. I mean, you had James Hollingshead, who was placing lower in that show, so essentially he's beating guys like James Hollingshead, so pretty damn impressive what all these young guys are doing right now. And people were saying all these young guys are going to be going into classic physique. We haven't seen that so much yet because we've got some serious talent coming through in their early and mid-20s, which is really cool to see. But let's move on. Let's discuss Yaksani Oroquin. We'll quickly touch on this. Now, she was second for years at Miss Olympia. She was always the number 2 girl behind Iris Cole. She's coming back. The Mr Olympia announced that at the 2020 Mr Olympia. They just announced this recently. So I'm assuming, obviously, the Olympia are planning to go ahead as planned on that date. Jay Cutler even predicted that he thinks the Olympia will go ahead on that date in Las Vegas, which, fingers crossed it does. I mean, I have some doubts about that, but it's going to be pretty cool because the Olympia have really worked hard on bringing back names to the Olympia that have competed before and are going to make a comeback. I think they've even got some other fitness girls as well. We've got Oksana Grashina making her comeback. I mean, she was retired and done. Yaksani Oroquin, obviously, as we mentioned, she was retired and done by the looks of it. Flex Lewis coming back in the open class. I did hear rumours around Iris Cole and Alina Popa coming back to the Olympia as well. I mean, if they can get all these names coming back, I think there's even a few others from other divisions too. And so I love what the Olympia crew is doing. What Dan Solomon is doing with the Olympia so far has been tremendous, but you've got to feel pretty much so sorry for him out of anyone with this whole thing going on because, he had the whole thing last year, had all these names out. He has this drama going on this year. And I mean, it's got to be so hard for him. And we talked about it last week, so I don't want to harp on that. But what do you think about what Dan Solomon's doing and getting these names back to the Olympia? And do you think it makes a massive impact?
I think Dan's doing a fantastic job. I knew as soon as he had the reins to that things were going to change and they're going to change for the best. Mate, let's not forget Dan was the man. Dan was the man. Back in the day with Pro Bodybuilding Weekly, which was, I used to love tuning into that show with Bob Ciccarello. That was amazing. I thought that it was fantastic last year, and it's only going to get better and better. Granted, he was, given a bit of a blow with the guys pulling out. Now this year we've got the but am I allowed to say that?
I'm beeping it out.
As soon as I said it, I went, am I allowed to say that? So you can, okay, let's just beat that out. So yeah. I've just lost my train of thought. So yeah, the comebacks. I'm excited. Like last year at the Olympia, so we were there. They announced the women's bodybuilding was making a comeback, which actually received a very welcome reception from the whole crowd. Everyone was pretty excited about it. It had been talked about for a few years. Is it going to come back? What are they going to do? They did have a few of the former champions there in the front row as well, which is great. So they're honouring them. I'm excited for it, especially we don't know, but if Iris Cole does decide to come back as well, that would be fantastic. 10-time Miss Olympia. So if she was to make a comeback as well as the others that you've mentioned, Yaksini and that, it's exciting. Yeah, I'll definitely watch it for sure.
Yeah, and the exciting part about it is that we don't know how these girls are looking now. So you got, the current top girls that are competing. I can't remember this. 2 that are quite high up there at the moment that their names are on the tip of my tongue, but I can't quite remember. But how these girls will match up against the former girls that were at the top, So Alina Popa, I think that, put all these girls into the lineup, I think Alina Popa wins. I think she's tremendous. She should have probably won one of the Olympias. I think one of Iris's, either Iris's last or second last. I thought Alina Popa was the best there. I think she just embodied what women's bodybuilding should be, She still had plenty of size, conditioning was still great, amazing shape, and she still looks very feminine as well. I think she's the most feminine looking of the whole lot of them, to be honest, and she's still so impressive physique-wise. So I think if they all come back, I think Alina Popa is the girl to beat, but we'll have to wait and see. And obviously Flex Lewis is a tremendous addition to that open class, and they made the right decision by giving out that special invite, and we still obviously don't know what's going to happen with the Olympia in terms of the shows and how the qualifying will work. There will be obviously news coming out about that, but I think things are still too up in the air at the moment to really know for a fact.
Yeah, that's the only problem, mate. We said that it's the uncertainty. There's nothing we can do about it because it's out of everyone's hands. I hope so. It's my favourite time of the year, apart from my birthday. It's my favourite time of the year is to go to the Olympia. And I've got mates from all around the world. And a lot of them come out there each year, and it's good to catch up with them and enjoy something that we all love. I'm a huge fan of Flex. Funny enough, when I was talking to a mate of mine the other day, and Jay Cutler's manager, Dave Valet, who you would know as well, he used to own a Max Muscle just down the road from Gold's Gym in Venice. And the first time I ever met Flex Lewis was in Max Muscle. I think it was 2005 or 2006. So it was right before he really made an impact into the pros. But he was the best guy. He was the nicest guy back then as well. We sat down on the couch. Dave had this awesome couch in the shop, and we just sat there and we just talked. It was just cool as. And the one thing I remember about Flex back then, and he's obviously still got them, was these forearms were just like this, these huge forearms. So that's 15 years ago, man. He was only a kid. He was just this young kid. So it's crazy to see when you see guys like that back then, and they've stayed the same. He's stayed humbled. He's been a fantastic champion. Great ambassador like Jay is now. Jay's an amazing ambassador. And Flex has got every chance in hell to really shake up the Opens. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I totally 100% agree as well. And have you heard the Flex Law's interview on Jay Cutler's channel that just went up yesterday?
I watched, in all honesty, I only watched probably about 25 minutes of the first one. I think Dave's put the second one up. But I did enjoy what I've listened to so far. But I'll definitely finish both of them. Yeah, I don't want to miss out on that.
Did you see how they put up a story about how he went into Max Muscle back then, Flex did? So it might have been the same time you actually met him. I don't know, which would be sort of really coincidental. But I'll include that audio right now, actually.
But going to your store then, Dave, was an amazing eye-opener for me, because you just didn't know who was going to walk in at any point in time. And I always remember how great you were with me, and again, now I'm in the situation I'm in myself, where I can pass back, and I love passing back. Jay loves passing back. You were so good to me when I came to that store for the first time. I remember you gave me some free clothing, and you didn't really know me from anybody, right? But you made sure that my first experience was one that I walk away. And I always tell that story. It was an amazing experience, because you made me. Not only did you give me free clothes, but you made me play the Xbox. You said, everybody plays this. And I was like, I don't know how to play this Xbox. They were like, you learn, because Chris Comey is coming in. You've got to beat him. That's right.
So Verity's talking about the whole, when he went in there, and then, he's like, play the PlayStation or Xbox or whatever. And then he's like, I don't really know how to play that. And he's like, learn. Because he's like, Chris called me, would want to come in and play. So, which is pretty damn funny. But it'd actually be funny if that actually was the time that you saw him in there, that exact same time. Because I can't imagine did Flex live there or what?
No, I think when I'd met him, he was, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was still living in England. I'm not sure which part of England, but he was in England.
Wales.
And he used to come out, Wales, yeah, and he used to come out and do, a month or two trips at a time in America, mainly in LA. So I'm pretty sure he was in Wales at that stage. And when I walked in, he was there by himself. He was just sitting on the couch, just chilling. I can't remember. I know Dave had all the games and that set up, because I'd seen all the other pros in there at some stage playing them as well. But he was just cool as. And yeah, I can't even remember what we really talked about. But Dave's shop, that was the place. You had to go there. That was the place to go. Whenever you went into Golds, you'd always just walk down. Most times I didn't buy anything. I just wanted to go in there and just flick through the clothes over and over again, look at all the bodybuilding DVDs. I mean, stuff like that. It was good times. Yeah, that was a good era, mate, back then. I loved it.
It's almost like a little shrine. Like, I always used to watch the Jay Cutler DVDs and all the other videos you'd see go up online and all that sort of stuff. And you'd see those stores, you'd see the firehouse, you'd see all those sort of things that sort of like says like, this is when you go to Golds, these are the places you go. You know what I mean? And I always wanted to do that, and now some of those places are disappearing, and it's like, it makes me almost sad that I missed out on sort of those eras. So definitely makes me want to get there at least. Well, the plan was this year, but that's not going to happen by the looks of it. So hopefully next year I can get over there, and hopefully even bring the family if things are all going well, but actually experience that and sort of experience that with some other people as well. So that'd be fun.
Yeah. I mean, you still got. Let's face it, Firehouse is never going to go, but you got Firehouse is still there. LA Urban Fitness, which is one of the main sup shops in Venice. So you would have seen quite a few of the older DVDs back in the day. I mean, Lee Priest in his first DVD, The Blonde Myth, was going into LA Urban Fitness, and back then they had pictures all around the walls of all the pro bodybuilders that were signed. Now it's a little bit more mainstream, like most sup shops are these days. You're more into your health and wellness and that as well. That's still there, but man, it was just, across the road, that Muscle Mag International, which was huge. Muscle Mag magazine was one of the biggest magazines in the world back with Flex and Muscle Development. They had their own store in that street. And you could go in and you could look at magazines from 10 years before you could buy them. They still had all these editions throughout the years. It was, yeah, it was crazy, but it's still good now, mate. I still love it over there. Like I said, my cousin lives probably 200 meters from Gold's Gym. It's right on the beach. It's a good. I just like it. If I get a chance, depending on what happens here with work in Dallas, the team back home at ATP know that's where I'd like to be, is in LA. So fingers crossed. But yeah, but mate, once you go, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've literally passed through, just gone to LAX and then gone straight to Vegas, LAX, and then straight back to Australia. So haven't stopped off there, unfortunately. But next year it has to happen 100%. It has to happen, unless this thing turns into something that goes on for like a year or two. But that's not happening. That's not happening. But anyway, that's it for another. Sorry.
No, sorry. Well, just quickly, I heard Jay mention on his on the interview he did that he would, if you do come over, and it's a good idea as well to bring your camera and that. He was going to let you do an interview and also do a training session and that. So I think that would be pretty damn cool. So it's something to look at as well. Tax write-off.
Yeah, he even said that. I think he said it after the interview as well. He said, yeah, if you come over, let me know, and you can come and check out basically his office and interview him in his house, in his actual office, which would be amazing. I'd set up a few different cameras, get a few different angles, and do a really in-depth interview about. It would probably be more about his life, and just go deep into some different topics and stuff as well, and get some real sort of different stuff. Even though I did that in part 1, I'd like to get a few. I left the interview thinking we could have interviewed for 5 hours. There was other questions that I had there, but I was like, I want to ask that, but the interview just went too long because his answers were so in depth and such good quality that it was like, I had to just let him go because they were such great answers. So yeah, it was absolutely awesome, and that would be just a next level experience. So he said, he even suggested going around and doing a lot of his stuff in person for my YouTube channel as well. So I asked him questions, and it was literally like the ultimate, what would you call it? The ultimate life and business coaching session sort of thing, that I didn't even have to pay for. And actually, some people said to me under the video, how much did you pay these athletes, or how much did you pay Jay to do this interview? And I said nothing. And he even commented on another one, said, this guy must come from money because, these guys wouldn't do this for his channel. But honestly, Jay, he didn't have to do that interview for me, man. It's just so awesome that he gave up 2 hours of his time. The interview went for about an hour and a half, but he was asking me questions and talking to me after the actual interview with actual intrigue, man. It wasn't just like, all right, cool, we're done. Yeah, see you over. He was very friendly, very nice, and was, very encouraging as well. So I just got these guys that have interviewed with me lately, thank you so much, because it's going to help this channel hopefully grow and hopefully be something that I can do full time. And I've said to a few people, I need to get back up to pretty much 25,000 views a day within about 6 to 7 weeks to continue this going. So hopefully you guys, everyone that's sharing stuff out there, it's just so appreciated from me. People have been sharing more stuff up and tagging me in on Instagram and stuff, and then I'm sharing their stuff back out because I do appreciate it. And it's a way of you guys getting a little bit extra exposure as well. And it honestly means so much, man. When I see these messages come through, this person wants to send you a message, instead of it being spam most of the time, now most of the time it's people tagging me and saying they're watching it on their TV, they're watching it on their iPad, they're at work watching it. It's like, that sort of stuff's so cool to me. And it's like, I'm from Belgium, I'm from this country, I'm like, wow, that's cool. That is so cool. And even just logging into the YouTube back end when I've got some videos that are going really well, and I'm looking at per minute how many people, or per hour how many people are clicking on the videos, and sometimes it's 1,000 views per hour. And it's like, wow, so you're thinking every, 20 seconds, 15 seconds, or 10 seconds on average, one person is clicking on my video. I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool sort of thought to think about. So I just want to thank everyone so much for supporting me, and hopefully we can continue this and keep this whole thing going.
No, that's awesome, mate. You deserve all that too. Like I said, your interviews are unreal. They're very professional. And you're getting noticed. You're getting a lot of the top guys wanting to do it. And I know, and I saw those comments that the guy said about the money too. And I know you, and I know for a fact you don't. These guys they willingly want to do these interviews, which is fantastic. It's good to see some of the pros wanting to basically give back as well. Give back to the sport, tell that story, which I think is fantastic. And especially at a time like this, where we don't know how much longer we could be in isolation. We could be in isolation. I see in Australia, they're saying maybe 6 months before gyms open, which is absolutely absurd. But it hopefully gives people something to listen to and keeps them occupied, because I do worry that a lot of us that are in the gym industry, without that outlet to get into a gym and really train and just, most people go to the gym and they forget about everything for the hour. So, yeah, it's worrying. That's for sure. So hopefully this gives people a bit of a release, and
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Definitely, we've got to wrap this up because we was planning on doing a quicker one this time, but we went a little bit over. But I just want to mention, I don't come from money. My dad used to, he actually told me sort of recently that when they were sort of like, oh, we're doing a toasted sandwich night, it was because they didn't have enough money to buy meats and stuff like that, because they went through so much, because I've got a brother with severe autism. They moved us to Melbourne, they moved us to northern Tasmania and stuff like that, and literally used all our money to try to get better sort of, I suppose, treatment, schooling and stuff for him, and they put themselves under huge financial stress to actually do that. And we were strapped for cash, at certain stages, and we moved house a lot because Dad used to build the houses, sell them, to make that extra money to support our family. So I think I've learned a lot of the work ethic from my dad. But I definitely didn't come from money, like he's doing well for himself now, but in the past it wasn't like that. And I've been the same way, man. Like I made some pretty average sort of investments, and I don't have a huge amount of money right now, which sucks. And it's hard to actually even admit that. But that's why I've said to people, I said, I can only continue to try to do this for so long, because I've lost, I had 7 coaching clients and they're all gone right now. My partner was working, getting a full-time salary, working sort of permanent part-time, and that's basically all gone now as well. And because she's a New Zealand citizen, she doesn't get the government grant or anything like that, and because I'm still working, I don't get it either. So people are getting $1,500 a fortnight now, and we're not entitled. Neither of us are entitled to it. So it does make things definitely tough, but that's why I want to blow this channel up, hopefully become one of the big channels, because that's what I really want to do, and I love doing it, so I'd love to be able to do something I love, rather than trying to start another business now, or putting my coaching prices way down and then just putting time into that, and then I don't want to shut this thing off, you know what I mean? So, and all the support and all the comments, honestly, they make a world of difference. So thank you guys so much. So that's it for the 3rd episode of, what's it called? The Weekly Bodybuilding Breakdown. Still getting used to that name. Mick, thank you so much. Do you have any final words?
No, thank you, Xavier. I love this time, especially when I've got not much to do over here in Dallas at the moment. It's great to catch up and talk about stuff I love as well. I love the sport. Absolute massive fan of it. So, yeah, this is great. And I really do think your channel is going to blow up. I've got no doubt at all. You're doing the right things. Happy days.
Thank you so much, bro. And we want listener questions. I don't think we got any, or maybe we got one. I think I saw one actually, but it was pretty weird sort of a question, so I thought I'd leave it out. But make sure you put your listener questions in the comments below. We want to at least get a couple for next episode, and we can even make that into a topic or whatever, and we'll give you guys a shout out. So make sure you do that. Also, I've got a group on Facebook as well. I don't really mention this much, but it's, if you search Desktop Bodybuilding, there's a page on Facebook, which basically I haven't really put much time into. It's got basically no followers, but there is a group. If you look up Desktop Bodybuilding and look at the groups, you'll be able to find it. I post up all the videos in there, and you can have some discussion under the videos in there as well. And I might even post some other stuff in there as too, like in terms of getting ideas for videos and things like that. So make sure you jump on there, request to join the group. Make sure you comment below. Let us know what you think of all the things we've discussed today in terms of a new pumping iron. Who would you guys actually feature in that pumping iron film if it's to be made today? Let me know what you think about all the interviews I did. What do you think about Quentin Araya and his future, and all these other guys as well? Let us know in the comments. And if you guys like and appreciate this content, give us a thumbs up. Also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up from myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding, and you'll be notified of all the episodes of the Weekly Bodybuilding Breakdown. So that's it. For Michael Galley and Xavier Wills, we are out.